Welcome to Sports Management Podcast, where you will hear interesting sports management professionals share their stories, experiences, and passion for the sports management industry. I am your host, Marcus Philipson. Today's guest is Marilou McFarlane, the founder and CEO of Women in Sports Tech, WiST. Marilou is an experienced sport professional and business leader. She started her first company in 2009 called Vivo Girls Sports, and she has been working as a CMO and CRO of Mustard, CEO of EduFi, Coach Now, and she's been a president of Stats Sports in North America. Now, her focus is on WiST and to get more women into the sports tech business. This through several initiatives such as WiST Fellowship program, grants and mentorships, and summer internship projects in the sports tech industry. Get ready to learn about the rise of tech in sports, what Marilou has learned from working as a youth soccer coach, why she decided to be an entrepreneur, and much more. Now, here is Marilou McFarlane. Marilou McFarlane, welcome to Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you, Marcus. I'm so honored to be here.
How are you today?
I am really good. Thanks for asking. I love where you are in Gothenburg, Sweden, though. That's high on my list to get back to Sweden as soon as I can.
We are happy to welcome you anytime you want to come here. So for the listeners, if they don't already know, you are the founder and CEO of Women in Sports Tech, or WiST. So can you tell us a little bit about WiST and what your role includes?
You bet. So Women in Sports Tech is a nonprofit that I founded almost 6 years ago to drive growth opportunities for women at all levels of their careers, from the classroom to the boardroom. And we do this through results-driven programs that allow employers to find these young women and more senior women, experienced women at all stages of their careers. We make it a lot easier for employers and the women who want to work in this industry to find each other. And we provide significant work experience to college and grad students through our flagship initiative, which is the WiST Fellowship program.
That's fantastic. So can you tell us a little bit about more the fellowship program? That I saw a video on your website, and it seems to be a global initiative, right?
It has become global. So yes, we offer $5,000 grants for college and grad and PhD students to do a summer internship project at a company in our industry that they would never have heard of otherwise. So they apply the applications are really the first of the year, and then we go through a significant screening and judging and interviewing process to land on a number of students that have either applied for a hosted opportunity with one of our partners, or in some cases they bring us their own self-created project, as one of our fellows did this year with the MLB. And then we bring them on as fellows. And this is our biggest cohort yet. Our class of 22 is 27 students. And that brings us to 75 total in the time since we founded WiST in early 2018.
That's fantastic. So yeah, Women in Sports Tech. Why is sports tech so important for the sports industry?
Well, we define sports tech very broadly. Any business, any role in the sports business is powered by technology. So we define it very, very broadly across all the categories, from sports performance technologies for athletes and coaches to fan engagement, venue innovation, front and back office, league, business intelligence, analytics. There's all kinds of esports. There's fantasy sports and betting. So we define it very, very broadly, and it's an exploding business. I've worked in this business for the last 12 years, and I was in sports tech before it was even a thing. And it's exciting to see that investors now are really embracing what a global opportunity it is.
I read that the sports tech is expected to be a $30 billion industry by 2024.
Our research shows there's a maybe more current or different, or maybe it's even part of what you're referring to. But yes, we show it as a $42 billion business by 2026. So it's growing. The demand is extraordinary. I think employers more and more recognize the value of having a diverse and inclusive workforce. 4 out of 5 people looking for jobs today. The commitment of the employer to diversity and inclusivity is critical. It's not just optional. It's like they will look elsewhere if they don't see a commitment to fighting systemic racism and sexism and a clear path to promotion with women and people of color who can be role models inside of that industry. So it's really a wonderful time for us to be in this business because we are helping employers do what they want to do. They recognize it's good business, right, to have more diverse people at all levels, in all roles.
So, yeah, obviously it's called Women in Sports Tech. So I assume that you have seen a lack of women in the sports tech area.
Well, that goes back to the roots of WiST, right? So as having worked in this business as long as I have, I've been an athlete my whole life. So I'm always played sports with guys and have always had no problem working, in an all male team. But there are times when it is frustrating to be the lonely only at the table. And at the same time, most of the men that I worked with were very we call them the enlightened men. They really did want to find more women to work with them. And then I would meet young women who were like, wait, what is this business? You are doing these cool things for these cool, early and growth stage startups. So they didn't even know what sports tech was. So it came out of, WiST was founded out of my very sincere frustration that there weren't more women already in the business, but it's largely because they didn't know about them. We tend to hire whoever's in our own network. That's just innate in all of us. You hire the person you played football with in college, or, in my case, who did I run cross country with in college? So you have your network, but what we've done is really enable you to expand that, to really have an expanded talent pipeline that did not exist before. And that's what our programs do. So, and other than the WiST Fellowship, we also have the WiST Network, which is the single source for diverse hiring. It's a job platform where employers can search candidates and also post their open roles. And then recently, during COVID, we have also created another one of our programs is called WiST Presents. And we create content that features these women who can be role models, who are women in the industry. And we've added content that is targeted to high school students because we know that girls still quit sports at twice the rate of boys, which makes me crazy. And we also know that they quit STEM studies because of the social stigma that might be around science and math. Those were my favorite subjects. And when I was in high school, and I did 4 sports in high school, but no one ever, I didn't even know there was an opportunity to capture all of the things that I'm good at, that I'm passionate about, into a career. So now we have the WiST Next Gen Resource Hub, which is full of content from amazing women doing amazingly cool jobs in this industry, and they can serve as role models. So that's what this is really all about. And the other thing with our WiST Fellows that I didn't mention is how much we focus on offering mentorship. So it's more than just offering our college students the grant. They also get paired with a specific mentor, someone who's also generally in a same education path and a career path that they are. And it just becomes this amazing opportunity for the young women to be inspired, because it can just take one role model to change your whole life. And that's what we're all about, to bring more women into this industry.
I've seen also that WiST is collaborating with some big brands like NBA, WNBA, Nike, to mention a few. What are these brands helping you with, or how are you collaborating?
Well, that's a great question. We are unique as a nonprofit that our partners integrate very deeply into all of the programs that we have. So, our largest partners are Comcast, NBC Sports. We have the NBA, we have Nike, we have IBM Sports, we have FIVO, we have Oracle, we have Catapult Sports has been an amazing partner. Stats Perform is another one that's a fabulous partner. And what's great about our mission to change the ratio is these partners host our fellows. So the fellows get into their talent pipelines. Most of them end up being hired. We have so many successful stories of how our fellows have been integrated and hired by the companies where they worked for our partners. So we're funded by corporate partners almost exclusively. And importantly, especially because I'm a startup person myself, we also want to have a wide open door for startups in interesting spaces, because some people may prefer to go a startup route rather than a large corporate route. So we really try to make sure that we have options and opportunities for everyone. And it's more than opportunities, Marcus. This is really important. We also provide the courage and the confidence and the community to go after the opportunities, because, if you don't see a bunch of women in a business, you may not have the confidence or the courage or think they're not looking for you, but we assure them they are looking for you. Women who are sports fans, you've been athletes. And then your job, once you're in, is to help bring more women along with you. So this is a dramatically different environment than it even was 5 years ago, due to the work that we've done.
I'm sure. And I mean, the explosion of sports tech in general, I assume that there are jobs out there. It's just what you said, that it's just to get these women to get the opportunity.
We've had thousands of jobs posted on our job network, which is called it's WiSTnetwork.org for anyone who wants to go look at it. But so many open roles. And I would say in an industry where the economy, we hear doom and gloom about the economy in general, but I would say that our sports industry is on fire. I mean, everyone that we work with is trying to hire. The demand is extraordinary. Thankfully, we're back to sports, right? So everyone, that is our common bond globally as well. So it's what that's exciting for us too, is that no matter what major city we go in the whole wide world, there is a sports tech community there. We work with people in Melbourne and Dublin and Tel Aviv. And I mean, that's probably the thing that I love the most about it, is just the commitment globally to this mission.
Yeah, because obviously sports tech can have so many great implications. And I saw now recently that NBA accepted to have a glass floor where they can have different fan experiences and change the view of the court, which of course you get unlimited opportunities all through the technological advances.
Well, you've got all the third and fourth screens, right? It used to be that you were either in person or watching it on one screen, but now there's so much more interactivity, so much more engagement in game. There's a really awesome startup called nVenue that was part of the Comcast Sports Tech Accelerator, which is a group that we partner with. And she has come up with a way to provide interactivity when the batter is in the ball and getting ready to swing. You can bet in real time, and then you also see what are the odds of whatever's going to happen, because she uses artificial intelligence. I probably didn't describe that as well as she would, but it's really interesting how widely embraced. The typical sports broadcasters are all about this.
I'm sure. You alluded to it before, like how many aspects there are. There are for fan engagement, maximizing player performance, media content, gambling. Is there any of these aspects that you find more important from sports tech, or all of them are important, in their own way?
Oh, I think they're all important in their own way. And for me, there's two kind of, when I'm describing it to people, there's two kind of main tracks. There's the business of sports, but then, and that involves fans and fan engagement. And then there is the sports performance side. And that's where my career has been spent, around biometric data, biomechanic data and feedback, the type of information that Catapult will provide to a player on how fast they ran, how far they're running, what's their left-right balance, all of these fascinating things that not only improve performance, but can help to alleviate injury, help you rehab, come back from injury. I mean, it's helpful too that I always think about the owner of the team or the head coach of the team. At the end of the day, yes, they need fans, but they also need healthy players on the field.
Yeah.
And so it's just fascinating to see the amount of also innovation being done around human performance.
This episode is sponsored by InSport Education, the online business school for sport. Right now, they are offering course recordings on demand for only £199. Private equity in sport, sustainability in sport, or governance in women's sport, take your pick. As always, you get 10% off all courses with the code SPORTSMANAGEMENTPODCAST10. Click the link in the description below to see the complete course list. You have a career in startups. This is not your only startup. If I'm correct, your startup journey began in 2009 with Vivo Girls Sports. What was that, and why did you decide to be an entrepreneur?
I think most founders, entrepreneurs, it's not like you make a conscious decision that that's what you're going to do. You just see a massive problem that you uniquely feel like you can solve. That's something that makes you crazy, that you feel like you are in a unique position to try to solve. So in 2009, I had teenage daughters who were athletes. As I said, I've been an athlete my whole life, my husband also. But we were frustrated that our daughters had no media support, no place to go to encourage them to keep playing sports. Now, they were unique because they had us as parents, but I felt there was a dearth of support for them to play. There was no resource where they could get answers to their questions about their bodies changing, about sports injuries, about what to do if your coach or your parent, God forbid, is yelling at you on the field that makes you want to quit your sport. So we created Vivo Girl Sports, and I am so proud of it. What I also didn't say is we would get ESPN Rise magazine to our house every month, and it was for high school athletes, and there would literally be 84 young boy athletes in this magazine and 3 girls. And then I would also go to soccer.com to try to buy things for my daughters. And they would have every kind of cleat and every male size there ever was. And then like 3 choices for girls. And none of that made sense to me because thankfully Title IX, half the athletes on the fields and in the courts and in the pools are girls in this country. So that's what we did. We created an online community to support young women to keep playing sports. We provided resources for them, original content. I raised $1 million from investors. I had $100,000 in revenue, which came from my experience when I was working in media at CBS prior to that. We had a press pass to go to the Vancouver Olympics. We had a team. We had 50,000 customers from all over the world. We had one of the top Facebook groups, top 5% of all Facebook groups at the time. And it was just such an awesome experience. So within a few months, we had a website up. This was before it was easy to do that. And friends of ours from ESPN started calling to say, wow, we've been talking about this for a while, ESPNW, and you've done in 3 months what we've still been talking about. So that was the ultimate flattery. They kind of hustled and got ESPNW up. And after 2 years, I was unaware of the data that female founders got less than 1% of funding from venture capital. At that time, it's not much better today. And some of the things that investors, venture capitalists said to me were just astounding. And especially here now, as we go into Pride Month, I'll share with you an anecdote that I don't think I've actually shared publicly yet. But after presenting everything about Vivo, we checked every box. And I've run startups, so I know we had the customers, we had the total addressable market, we had revenue, we had a team, we had amazing progress. And I had an investor ask me if I was worried about the lesbian influence in our community. And all of a sudden, it was clear to me that this was something I was unaware of, that's how the investors were perceiving female athletes. And it makes me crazy to this day. I almost climbed over the table. Thankfully, one of my women I work with was with me, but I was like, but you know what I said, which I still say is, it's just not relevant. They are spending money on products. They're buying cleats, they're buying jog bras, they're buying, feminine health products, they're buying makeup, they're buying hair products. This is a huge cohort of young women. And it's what you just said to me is not relevant. But we did sell it to soccer.com. I had an opportunity to sell it to ESPN, but at that point, my husband was a fire captain working in Santa Clara, and our daughters, we love living where we live, and we didn't want to uproot everyone and move to Connecticut. But it was an amazing adventure. We're very, very proud of it. And it really set me on my way to recognizing, you just learn with each one of these startups you do how to be more efficient, how to quickly iterate on demand on what you're learning back from your customers. And from there, met sports tech startups and just went into a series of leadership roles there and still worked full time in sports tech and just until last year. So WiST was all volunteer until last year.
Oh, wow.
And one of our biggest partners, Comcast NBC, they said, we want to give you money, but someone's going to have to work there. So that was a pivotal, very pivotal time in WiST journey. And then now I have a full-time staff of 5 people. So it's really very rewarding.
That's fantastic. And yeah, to what you said before there with the coverage and, for women athletes, it's the same as we talked about before in business. I mean, you need a mentor, you need a role model, you need media coverage in order for these athletes to have something to, look up to. And it cannot only be that the women should not only look up to Messi and Ronaldo, they should have, the female players as well. And for them to motivate them, they can do it as well. And I mean, Alex Morgan and, whoever that might be.
Well, I coached my daughter's soccer for 10 years when they were young. And the prize they got at the end of each practice was someone got a player card of the 1999, Olympians. That was Brandy Chastain and Mia Hamm and Julie Foudy and Christine Lilly, and they still have them. So that we were showing them role models in this business. So, hats off to that group of women who really became extraordinary role models, for all this generation of women. I'm sorry, I didn't have more because I had Pele on my wall when I was a young kid, but there were certainly no female soccer players at all. And I then became a runner, and the first women's marathon wasn't run until 1984. So I just feel as though what I want to do is honor the women who came before me and also make this a much better ecosystem for all the women who are now coming after me, my daughters included, and my granddaughter, and your daughters and granddaughters.
For sure. So talking about your experiences, you have also been a youth coach for soccer for over 10 years, and you were also the president at the Millwall Soccer Club. What have you learned from working with kids or young adults?
Oh, everything. I mean, I say any time that I spend with kids or young women in my world, I feel like whatever I give to them, I get back. So when I was coaching, what was interesting was I was almost the only mother, which I still think is very strange because it was mostly fathers, which was fine and obviously great. Daddy-daughter time is extraordinary. But to be able to inspire even the young boys that I coach, because for many years it was co-ed, for them to see me out there, gave them an opportunity to see a woman coaching, a woman as president of the soccer club. There were 2,000 kids in that club. And what's interesting, Marcus, just about my path is that was obviously volunteer. I had a full-time job while I was doing that, but it was my first experience leading a nonprofit. So I learned a lot about nonprofit board governance, about how the financing of nonprofits is very different from a for-profit business. So all of that really prepared me for where I am now. And I love being around the kids. I mean, some of my favorite moments of my life were on the field with my kids, my daughters and all of their teammates.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Including 2 trips to the Gothia Cup.
Yes, exactly. The Gothia Cup, the soccer tournament that we talked about before, that it will start up again after 2 years of COVID.
Fantastic.
Yes. Talking about you as a leader for your business, but also maybe in sports, how would you describe your leadership style?
I would say that I lead with an extraordinary focus on collaboration. I want to hear from everyone in the room. I tend to hire and surround myself with people that are smarter than me, certainly at the things that are not my own strength or skill set. So I think I'm always learning. I always want to take chances and have courage. And I also want to lead. When I say collaborative, that also really means inclusive. Like you just want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to have their voice heard. Many times the best idea in the room is going to come from the young woman who represents that cohort. So I've always had a sense that there are a number of ways to solve problems, and you just want to take all the best input that you can at the time, make a decision as much as you can that everyone agrees with, because they have had input into that choice. And then how do we learn and iterate on that particular decision that we made? You're going to fail. You're going to do things that fail in the initial way that you set out to do it. But that's because you have a growth mindset and you decide you're going to have courage, because nothing productive or innovative is ever going to happen if you don't have courage.
Has there been any bumps on the road in your career? And if so, how did you overcome them?
Yes. That's an easy answer. Yes, there are bumps in the road. And that's one thing we tell our fellows and anyone that we mentor is yes, there are going to be times where something goes completely awry, or the leader that you happen to be working for does or says something that is really inappropriate or really awkward or worse, or you have an amazing business opportunity that you can't get funded. I mean, at the end of the day, you would say that my experience with Vivo, because we don't still exist, you might say that failed, but I always feel like you fail forward fast and you take everything that you learned from that and then take that on to the next thing. So the success curve is not a straight line up. There is lots of friction. From friction and pressure, that's how diamonds are made. Like you're going to go through times that are really tangled, really messy, very chaotic, but not necessarily failing, but where you're just unclear of the path forward, but you just have to take a step forward, even if you don't know always exactly where you're going. And I would say that about WiST, right? We didn't know where we were going. We just went out to solve a problem. We had a ninja army of volunteers to support it, amazing board members and corporate partners. But has that been easy, moving from all volunteer to an all paid staff? Very, very difficult. Last year, my hair was on fire most of the year. It was very intense, but everybody very committed to getting us through to the next step, which is where we had to go. So I consider mastery, it's like there's a grind up and then you might plateau a little bit, but then you're grinding up again where you don't have all the answers, and then you plateau and reset and recharge, and then you go again. So it's not, there's no finish line. For me, there's no finish line.
Yeah, so that leads me to my next question with WiST. So now when you said you didn't really have a plan, but now you're up and running, you've been paying and having a full staff now for a year. What is the plan going forward?
Well, we're looking at that right now. Frankly, we try what I encourage any founder or entrepreneur that I mentor is you look at demand. We have product market fit that's established. Our programs are very successful. So as we go forward, candidly, how do we scale the fellowship program? Because it is very heavy lift on our part, very, very high touch. Our fellows get extraordinary attention from us, as do all of our corporate partners. So where do we go from here? I think we continue to refine the programs that we're doing and make sure that we have on our team the right butts in the right seats in terms of getting the jobs done. And then just try as much as possible to be proactive, but also reactive to the demand. So where this goes, it's kind of exciting to envision. But if I had all the answers, no one has all the answers. Anyone who does a startup, you don't know where it's going. You just try to keep the wheels on, keep the train on the tracks running full speed, or the airplane. Here's a better analogy. When the airplane's flying, we might have to make some changes to the airplane, but we want to keep it in the air and keep it flying as fast as it is now, but also not overwhelm the engine too fast. That was a terrible analogy, but do you know what I'm saying? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I understand. I really much look forward to following the WiST journey. Is there something that I haven't asked you yet that you feel is important to bring up?
I don't think so. I feel like this has been a really, really fun time for me to stop and reflect and share with you kind of how we got here. And I appreciate very much, the organizations like SIGA and, the organizations around the world that have embraced the work that we do. So one thing that I would add on to the previous question was I do see that we would have more of a global imprint. We're working with the Australia Sports Tech Network right now that has just made a very generous commitment to us for over 3 years. So how can we take the fellow program and have it work productively in other countries? Visa issues are something that we can't ignore. So it becomes harder and harder to have international students come here. So this year we placed 2 of our fellows in businesses in the UK with Stats Perform. So that gets me probably the most excited, is how do we take probably our most successful program, which is the fellowship program, and scale that to where it can provide the same opportunities that we're providing for US students to students all over the world and employers all over the world who are looking for them, because internships can change your life. I had an internship with Turner Broadcasting when I was in college that changed my life. They moved me to San Francisco, and I've never looked back. And my life began almost when I got to San Francisco.
So I assume that's it's important to find local partners, so you avoid visa issues. And I guess it's difficult with an online version for an internship because you lose a bit of the, human interaction and everything. But is that something you have considered now during COVID?
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that because we offer a travel and housing reimbursement fund. So most of the work that many of us do can be done virtually. But we offer funding to go travel to that business because being in person is very significant. You do have that opportunity to go have a beer or a glass of wine and get to know each other on a level that's just not possible when you're on Zooms all the time. So we do account for that. And we had a student last year who worked for a company based in Denmark. So she was able to use her travel and housing reimbursement to travel to be with them there. They hired her, so she works for them full time. Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah, so we're already doing that, which is really great. Oh, the other thing I didn't tell you that's really cool is one of our fellows from last year who went to work for Comcast G4. She was hired as their first full-time employee, and this summer she has a WiST Fellow working for her. So it's the first WiST Fellow who has a WiST Fellow working for her, which is very cool.
The circle is complete.
That's it. That's the goal.
That's fantastic. The last question that I ask everyone here is, if you could choose the next guest on this podcast, who do you think that I should talk to?
Wow, what a great question. Do you know who I would suggest? Because she's such a leader in terms of corporate innovation, is Jenna Carath. So she's running inside Comcast, the Comcast Sports Tech Accelerator program. And I just had the opportunity to be with her in Atlanta last week. But what they're doing inside Comcast, I think, is extraordinary to bring in startups and support them. We participate as mentors for their founders. They have like a 12-week boot camp where they get to learn everything about startups. They get to meet investors. In their case, Comcast NBC has all these NGBs. US Ski and Snowboard can use this technology. NASCAR can use the technology. WWE can use the technology. So I think it's a fascinating business model. What they've done inside Comcast NBC is definitely something I think other large corporations committed to sport should look at doing. And it's no small endeavor. And she's a phenomenal leader. Yeah.
That sounds great. Would be great to make that happen. Marilou McFarlane, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Sports Management Podcast.
Thank you, Marcus. I've really enjoyed the time. Hope you have a good evening.
Thank you for listening to the Sports Management Podcast. Please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any upcoming episodes. Also, feel free to leave a comment about what you thought about this episode. If you want to get in contact with me, send an email to sportsmpodcast@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter or Instagram @sportmpodcast.